You mentioned something before. You call it a fat cat closer. So what is a fat cat closer?
I would go out and I would get these people that they were already really successful. Their wife drove a Range Rover, they had the Rolexes, and these guys were prima donnas. They would only take the hot inbound leads, and those people are cancerous for the organization. And then you have like your cheetahs. Cheetahs kind of keep themselves hungry. Anything more than that, we start to form them into fat cat closers.
But if you feed them too much, then they aren't actually good at sales.
If you feed them too much, what actually ends up happening is they don't fight for the close as hard. A seller hits them with an objection. The first thing they think is, well, I got 7 other leads I can go call right now. That will be layouts. But for you, you could have made $20,000 on the deal that they gave up on. We have a saying in my team called no pulling out. If they give you an objection, you're not pulling out. You're staying in there and you're closing that deal.
We all get the same 24 hours. So why is it that some people build so much more with them? I'm Brian Koons, and this is the Builder Nation podcast, where we talk to top performers, entrepreneurs, and visionaries to uncover the architecture of a meaningful and fulfilling life. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Builder Nation podcast. Today, I got my boy John Lallande, who I have known for literally a long time, multiple years, living in Medellin, crushing it in business. You got out of the Marine Corps, you've scaled businesses, and now you run a wholesale sales academy, which is a school community teaching systems, processes to freaking wholesalers, crushing it. So yeah, dude, I want to get into really the tangible way that you have been able to scale businesses, teach people how to scale businesses. And one of the first places I'd love to start is, in order to have a company, you have to be able to sell something, have sales. So one of the first things that I really want to dive deep on is, how do you create a predictable sales engine for a small business?
So the first thing is, this is something that I see people make a mistake with a lot, is they think that they are just going to have somebody else come in and sell the thing for them without any sort of real understanding of what their customer, what their prospect, what their seller actually wants, right? And so I'm a huge believer in, especially in the startup phase. So for example, I have a friend that he runs a company that is worth over $100 million right now. And in the startup phase, he just took all the sales calls at the beginning, right? And I did the same thing for both of the businesses that I run, both on the coaching side and the wholesaling business, as I just started out. And I take all the sales calls and I start to find out, okay, what are the things that actually sell somebody? What do they really want? What is the outcome that they're after? And what are the common objections that they get? And once you can piece that together, you do 40, 50 sales calls, you start to get a really good idea of what you're going to be up against, what your avatars are. So you might have multiple different types of avatars that you're selling. For example, with homeowners, we have investors that are a little bit more sophisticated. We have just your standard homeowner. We have people that have vacant properties. We break them out into avatars. And then from there, script it out, start creating a process for every single one. And I use Miro boards a lot. So like when I train my teams, I'll break out Miro boards. I'll say, okay, you go here. And then when you break out the avatar, these are kind of like your 3 different avatars. And then you bring out, this is the problem that they typically deal with. And you just start drilling it. And so that's mostly what I do in both of my companies is I just run the sales team. So if I'm not running the sales team, I'm not helping with sales. Like you just saw that right before we hopped on. I was talking to one of my acquisitions managers, helping him out with the deal. If I'm not doing that, I don't want to do it. I'm basically just focused on really high income producing activities. And in order to do that, you have to first figure out what are the main things that you're going to use to sell your prospects. And then you can start repping that out with your team.
That's good. So how do you determine what things are high leverage for you and high income producing and what things aren't?
Yeah. So I'll do a study. So have you ever seen the analytics tool with Google Calendar where you can see?
Tell me about it.
It's pretty cool. So you can just color code your calendar. If you use Google Calendar, you color code it, you see where all of your time is being spent. So if I have like a sales activity and income producing activity, I can see where I'm spending most of my time. And then you can go back and you look at, okay, how much revenue did each activity bring me? And, it started out with me. Sales is typically for a startup, it's going to be one of your highest income producing activities, unless you're just a savage marketer and you can sell something without a sales team, right? If you can sell something without a sales team and you're a good marketer, then marketing, filming ads, running ad copy is going to be your highest leverage activity. I'm not the best marketer. I've always outsourced that, but I'm good at sales. And I've just broken out my calendar and I go, okay, how much money is this activity making me on a monthly basis? And if you want to look at it very simply, just look at how much revenue it generated and divide it by the number of hours that you spend doing that per month. And I do that with the Google tool. So I just color code everything. So like for example, later today, I have about 3 hours blocked off. It just says revenue driving activities. And all I'm going to be doing is getting on the phone with my sales team and going through our CRM, looking at our most likely to close opportunities and figuring out what's preventing them from closing. I do that every day in the morning meetings anyway, but by Friday, I know I have a weekly metric that I need to hit every single week as far as contracts. And so what I'll do is I'll just go, okay, we haven't hit that. Now I need to start getting involved. And that's very, very, very high leverage for me because most of the sellers that we're talking to, they're already teed up. They're already warmed up. They're ready to go. They just have a little bit of objections, like some fear objections, some money objections. And I'll just hop on and overcome those. And so in 15 minutes, I can bring in a $25,000 assignment fee. And I don't have anything else that I could do that is anywhere near, $25,000 an hour. And so that's the topic that I focus on the most is just how do I push deals across the line? And then I spend the rest of my time really training my team.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so let's, if you can, break down a little bit for me on so you kind of mentioned it quickly about just how you manage and operate your CRM. I mean, a lot of people in business, their CRMs are probably just absolute shit. Like they have no actual data on there, no way to track it. So if you were talking to someone in any sort of sales company side that was looking to build out an effective CRM from, I guess, the ground floor, where would you start and what would you kind of do on a daily, weekly basis to get there?
I would start by stripping out everything that's not being used. And one of the most common things that you'll see with these CRMs is they can do everything. They have all of these different fields and buckets and things that just nobody's using. So for example, in real estate, most of the CRMs have, what's the property condition? What's the motivation of the seller? Oh, is it a 3-bed, 2-bath? They have all this stuff, and they or their sales reps, they don't even fill them out, right? They just skip over them. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to simplify it. I want to make it as simple as possible where I strip it down. Even if I think, hey, we use that sometimes, I'm going to take it out and just see if I can run without that information, without those extra buckets. Make it super, super simple. Once you do that, now you can start going into the automation phase. And so, for example, I'll just tell you, sales reps hate doing admin. And there are some things that we need to see in order to make decisions off of them. And for example, I have an appointment quality rating. So whenever we have an appointment booked on the calendar, I want to know the quality of that lead. It helps us understand which one of our marketing channels are doing the best, right? I'll have a offer confidence score. So if they give an offer and it's above a 4, I know, okay, that's a deal we should get. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna help them close that. The problem is, it either has to be a required field or automated. Otherwise, what happens is no one uses it. So I either make it's a required field. If I make an offer and I hit the offer made box, okay, now it's required for me to put in the offer confidence, the appointment quality, the seller bottom dollar. I have those required fields, or it's something that I can automate. So for example, we also track our speed to lead, right? But I'm not going to have my reps go in and say, I claim this lead in 3 minutes. They would never do it. It would be too complicated. They don't actually see a benefit to them filling out that level of data. So they're just not going to do it, no matter how often you just sit there and beat them up and beat them up. So that's where you start automating, right? And so with automations, I look at, okay, what data do I actually want and what can a robot do for me? And for us, appointment date time, like when they actually booked it, that can be automated, right? When did they actually make the offer? When was the last answer date? What was the outcome of the last offer? You can automate a lot of that to where the CRM can just pick it up and do it for you. Any dates you can automate, right? Any speed reports that you're trying to do, like speed to lead, speed to offer, speed to appointment, you can automate those reports. And so that would be the second thing. And then the third thing is doing the training with your team if you have one, or if it's by yourself, making sure that you're doing at least a weekly audit of your CRM, because the CRM is there to help you make more money. at the end of the day and save you time. Like really those two things, like make more money and save more time. A lot of people are just using it as like reminders, which is the wrong way to use your CRM. It's not just somewhere to go put all of your notes and remind you to do certain things. It's there to help you make more money. So for example, when I look at my CRM and I look at everything that's happened in the last 7 days, I want to see all the new leads, what we've converted. I do what I call a 7-day CRM audit. I'm looking for anything that's slipped through the cracks. So for a perfect example, I have an appointment that's a 5 out of 5 quality rating, super high quality lead that came in. The offer was a 4 out of 5. I'm like, okay, so that one's pretty confident. And I look at the last answer date, our last call date, and they haven't been called in 5 days. I can immediately go, dude, this is a freebie right here. I can just call this lead and go get that contract. And so I would just follow that kind of step-by-step process. Is you simplify what you have, you automate anything that you can, and then you start auditing everything that you have from there. And if you do that, you'll actually get the thing that you want from your CRM, which is to make more money and save you more time. It shouldn't take you more time by adding in a CRM.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And it makes sense that you're like, hey, like you're going to have a shit ton of leads. You're going to have them coming in from wherever, and you have to find ways for you and your team to qualify them and then also identify urgency associated with it, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. And I'll give you another example. I'm not like super in the weeds of the CRM for the coaching business, because mostly in that business, I just coach and I'll help my sales team a little bit as well. But the guy that runs that CRM, he does appointment quality tracking based off of metrics. So for example, if someone joins our school community, they get a certain amount of points added. If they book a call with us, they get more points added. If they are opening our emails and engaging, they get more points added, and they show up to a webinar, they get more points. So what he can do is he has these smart lists set up, and my sales team will go in and call these of people that, have shown up to a webinar, they've booked a call but didn't show up, and he can grade them and say, hey, these are the highest quality leads. So these are the people that we should go after first, which is really the point of the CRM. I run the same exact way for my acquisitions business, my wholesaling business. Is I'm just looking at where is the opportunity? Who should we be tackling first? Who is the most likely to make us money? And I spend all of my effort on that, and then I trickle down. So I'll start at, where do I make my money today? Where's the most likely chance to make money? I'm going to tackle all that first, use all my time there. And then I'll start going into like the lower tier and lower tier and lower tier. That way, if I never get to the old leads that maybe filled out a form and said that they might consider selling their house in 2 years, it's like, it's okay, because I did hit the people that want to sell their house tomorrow and are really close on price. That's what matters to me the most.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so you mentioned something before, you call it a fat cat closer. So what is a fat cat closer?
So I had a tendency when I started hiring people, and this was some coaching feedback that I got from some other mentorships, is I wanted to go get these people that were like, oh, only used to making $150,000 to $300,000 a year, and they've ran a successful sales process for a while. And so I would go out and I would get these people that, they were already really successful. Their wife drove a Range Rover, they had the Rolexes and stuff like that. And these guys were prima donnas. What they would do is they would only take the hot inbound leads. They always wanted to have their own appointment setter. They wanted to have somebody, qualifying through the leads, booking appointments. If they didn't show, they might call them twice, for the appointment. If they don't show up, they don't really feel like they need to follow up with anybody. And those people are cancerous for the organization, because they don't know how to actually maximize what you have available in the CRM. They don't know how to create revenue. And I mean, let's be real, any business, lead flow goes up and down. So like we're going into Thanksgiving this next week. Guess what? Lead flow is going to go down a little bit, right? We still need to we still need to throw up contracts on the board if we want to hit our revenue goals. Christmas is coming up. People are relatively unresponsive during Christmas. Doesn't mean that we're not throwing contracts on the board, right? And the fat cat closers, they don't like to do that. They are the type of people that will go in, and if they don't have any appointments, they're not working. And I stole that terminology from a guy named Jeremy Haynes, by the way. He was the one that came up with that. I repeat it now because I'm like, man, I have definitely had those. And so I like to look at when you have your sales team, you kind of have two different types of people. You have like your whales, like your fat sharks that are, they're already full. They're just kind of moping around. They don't really need to do anything because they're all full. This is when you have, your calendar's completely booked up, and if they don't show, they don't even call them. And then you have like your cheetahs, like cheetahs kind of keep themselves hungry. They wait until they need to eat, right? And so, but when they do hunt, they're hunting extremely intentionally. Like they need to eat, right? And so I want to keep my team, I want to give them the opportunities to be able to make money, but I don't want to overload them so much where I'm spending a bunch of money, I'm getting a weak return off of those reps. I need them to maximize the return that I'm having. And so for acquisitions managers, I have some metrics that I've found, like 5 leads a day per acquisitions manager. Anything more than that, we start to form them into fat cat closers. Anything less than that, they're like a cheetah in the jungle without any food around. It's like, okay, I can't really keep them fed. So you do have to have that sweet spot, because you have to give your team an opportunity to succeed, but you can't give them like so much, fill up their calendars completely and to where you're spending too much money and they can't actually provide a ROAS on it. So that's kind of the difference between like your fat cat closers and the people that you want, which I will now coin as cheetah closers.
Dude, that's so good. That it makes so much sense too, because it's like you have, it's kind of all inclusive, but you have the marketing and the sales. The marketing feeds the leads to the sales, but if you feed them too much, then they aren't actually good at sales. And like,
yeah,
because
exactly.
Sales is inclusive.
And here's what I've noticed on that too, bro. Is like if you feed them too much, what actually ends up happening is they don't fight for the close as hard. And so a seller hits them with an objection. The first thing they think is, well, I got 7 other leads I can go call right now that will be laydowns. And so like for them, yeah, sure, they're going to make a lot of money because they're just going in for the laydown closes and they're only focusing on those. But for you, you could have made $20,000 on that deal that they gave up on because it was just too hard and they have other leads that they can go call. And you didn't, because they're just like, whatever, on to the next one. And so I want to prevent that mentality from happening. We have a saying in my team right now called no pulling out. It's like a mantra that we're chanting of like, dude, if you have a lead, you're not just like, if they give you an objection, you're not just, hey, I'm going to get off the phone and call them back. It's like, no, you're not pulling out. You're staying in there and you're closing that deal and you're fighting and you're going through all of the objections that you need to get it closed. And it's important that you breed that culture within your team, because it's really easy to just go, oh, well, their close rate's going down, let's just spend more money. And then pretty soon you don't have a profitable business. And unfortunately, I've done that so many times. I've just gone, oh shit, our numbers are getting worse, so let me spend more money and to make the revenue goal that we set out for, but I'm neglecting the actual profit goal.
Yeah, that's so smart, man. So what, I guess, how do you frame conversations, or how do you frame objections with potential customers to close deals?
That's a great question, because framing is the way. If you listen to what I said a couple of seconds ago and you're like, you think that we're some sort of high pressure, like Grant Cardone, Andy Elliott closer that's just hitting you with objections and objection, like not letting you get off the phone. That's not what we're doing at all. We are framing them, and we are on the same side. We're on the same team trying to get to the same result, right? And so I'll give you an example with a seller. So one of my students this morning, I just got off a call review. She has a seller that's in foreclosure, gonna lose the house in like a matter of a week. And the seller goes, hey, well, let me just take a day to think about this and I'll get back to you. Like, can I just sign this tomorrow? And so what I coach her is, I said, look, you could take a week, you could take a month, you could take a year. That's not really what's important to me. And I could just let you get off the phone. The thing is, you and I both know that that's not what's in your best interest right now. Because if you get off the phone, all of the fear that you have, it's just going to come up again. And that might be the thing that prevents you from selling the house. And it might be the thing that causes you to go into foreclosure. And so do you see how getting off the phone right now and continuing to push this off isn't in your best interest? That's a frame. It's a frame of, hey, I am helping you. I'm on your side. I'm not saying, if they say, hey, can I spend a day to think about this? I'm not just saying, no, you can't think about it, and then you got to do it right now. That's high pressure, right? But framing, look, I could let you. My only concern is that's not in your best interest, and I want what's best for you. That's framing. And so the thing with objection handling is, as long as the prospect truly believes that you are on their side and that you are looking out for their best interests, which you should be if you are a good salesperson. You should be on the person's side. You should be looking out for their best interests. Otherwise, you're unethically selling people because you just want a commission check, right? And so that will not get you very far. You should want what's best for the prospect. Then you have to help them understand that. And you have to be okay with telling them what they want to do is not in their best interest. The same way that a personal trainer holds a fat guy accountable, right? He's like, hey, bro, I understand you want to eat that chocolate cake right now, but that's not what's in your best interest. So I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to support you in doing that. Here's what we're going to do instead. And then they guide you to the right decision. And so objection handling is very similar to that. It's helping them see, hey, I'm on your side. I want to see you win. Most objections come down to fear, and people don't understand this. They think it's money, time, all these things. Most of it is just fear. Like once they understand that your solution will put them in a better spot, the only reason they don't move forward is some sort of fear. Fear that they don't believe that they can, or fear that they don't believe you can actually provide it for them, right? And so you kind of just have to identify that and help frame them to, hey, I am going to help you. I'm going to walk you through this. And then any objection that comes up, it's relatively easy to handle at that point.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so with that, like I actually have another question is, what is the difference between the best sticker price and having the trust or certainty and the value behind that?
I have a coaching program and I have a wholesaling business. And my coaching program is probably the most expensive out of anybody that does anything that's similar, which there are, like we do have, like I don't even call them competitors because I don't even think we're competing with the same people. Like my price is much higher. What I offer is much, much higher service. And then in my wholesaling business, like we're rarely the highest price unless I decide to buy it as a rental and I decide to take it down. Right. So I kind of follow what Hormozy says here, which is the lowest price just leads you to going out of business. If you're always trying to compete on price, you're having to lower your margin, right? And so I also believe that, like for coaching programs, for example, the cheapest program typically costs you the most money because there's something that you're missing there, And so like if somebody tells me like they're thinking about my coaching program and they say, hey, well, I went to this other person that they're only charging $5,000, you're charging $25,000. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We don't even compare ourselves to those people. We're not even in the same universe as those people. We have a completely different model program, and that's why our students get these results. And so same thing with sellers. The difference with sellers is they have a lot of wholesalers out there that will offer the seller a price that they just can't close on. And so you've probably seen this before because you get wholesale deals in your inbox.
Yep.
Like when you're like some things that maybe if you're putting ADU, you probably get some wholesale deals. You'll see like nobody's going to buy this house at that price, but they're still marketing at that price because they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to run their comps. A lot of wholesalers will do that too. And so like sellers will tell us, oh, I got another offer. I'd be like, yeah, I would be surprised if you said that you didn't have a better offer because right now there are so many other companies out there that will tell you the number that you want to hear. They'll lock you into that price only to wait until you're desperate at the last minute just to lower it. The thing is, like, we don't do that. And so what's more important to you? Is it taking a gamble with that higher number, or is it working with a company that you trust that will actually get this done? Like I'll take that angle. So I do not ever like trying to go for the like the commoditized price. I like to try to play just a completely different game than everybody else. And I'll tell sellers, hey, look, I could have offered you $250,000 as well. Why do you think I didn't? They're like, because you can close at this price, right? Like I could have done the same thing as those other guys. I didn't because we're going to tell you a price that it can actually close at. And so I kind of like, I have two different sales frameworks depending on if I'm selling a product versus buying something. So I do both. And so like I have different concepts, but I want to be the highest price. I want to sell based off of value. And I think it's easier to sell based off of value because the second you start competing on price, you're now a commodity. Think about cars. It's really hard to sell cars and not be the best price. Like you're a commodity automatically. It's like, dude, this is the exact same car. They came out of the lot. They came out of manufacturing at the exact same time. They both have 0 miles. Like, how is your car going to be that much better? And so then you're just competing on price. I don't think I could, like, if you put me on a car lot, think of myself as a good salesperson, I don't think I would do much better than anybody else on a car lot. I think I could maybe handle some objections that other people couldn't, but I don't think I would crush it and selling cars or selling like, Nike shoes or anything like that. I think you have to find a product that you can really get behind and has a big change on people's lives. Those are like not to go too off topic, but that's the thing that I look for when I'm trying to sell something is how much does this change someone's life? Which is why I do, coaching and wholesaling. Wholesaling, when I can get a seller to sell their property and maybe go get closer to their grandkids, I have a huge impact on how much I change their life, right? With coaching, I can take somebody that's been struggling for a year and get them to take home $50,000 a month after all their expenses. I change their life drastically. Very easy to sell those products where I think if you have a product that doesn't really change someone's life, it's just harder to sell. It's more difficult. I've always seen that.
Hey guys, if you're a business owner, high income earner, or investor who's been thinking about getting into real estate development but don't have the time to manage the process, this is for you. My company partners with people like you to help unlock the potential of your properties or even source and manage new small scale development projects. We manage hundreds of ADUs and infill development projects across Southern California, and our team knows how to simplify the process so you can benefit from the upside without managing contractors, permits, or design headaches. Whether you want to develop your own property, explore ways to offset taxes, or just learn how the development model works, head to thebuildernation.com/partner. That's thebuildernation.com/partner and see how we can help you build more with the same 24 hours. Now back to the show. Yeah, there's so much gold in that because you mentioned like it really does come down to the product. And when you can productize, like everyone thinks of wholesalers, right? Like for me, it's ADU development, right? Like everyone can hire a design build firm or a designer or a contractor to build their ADU, but it's exactly the same thing. It's like, I'm not a contractor. I'm not a freaking designer. I'm the developer who's going to fucking get your project across the finish line and the best value. We're going to underwrite it. We're going to make sure it gets done because it's feasible, et cetera. It's like, you're not even in the same ballpark. And so it's so smart to do that of like making yourself a one of one, right? Like it's the blue ocean strategy. So think of what are you doing? How do you make it or create it in a way that no one else is doing it? Because then it's not bloody waters when everyone's just trying to bite each other to the lowest price.
And you can make yourself that, like, for example, both industries that I'm in would be considered extremely competitive. Like there's a ton of wholesalers out there. There's a ton of coaches out there. Shoot, like everybody and their mother, they close their first wholesale deal and they start teaching people how to do wholesaling, right? Like super common that people do that. But you can, once they see your confidence, they see your reputation, they see those things, that's how you start standing out, right? That's how you really win. For example, with ADUs, there are a lot of people that, I mean, dude, think about the fear that people have with contractors that they're going to take their money and run. That's a huge, and when I was flipping houses, I have had so many bad experiences with contractors. So eventually I had to shift my frame from it's not about the lowest price. The lowest price also often costs you the most money, like especially with contractors. So we had a house that we probably had a contractor cost us $200,000 on this house. And we went with the cheapest guy. And the guy just did a absolute shit job. So then we go and put the house on the market. People start going through it and start telling us all the things that they see wrong with the house. Then we had to hire another contractor to come in and fix it. But the house was on the market for 90 days because we had to go in and fix all these different things. Now people think there's something wrong with it. We ended up having to sell a fully renovated house below market value. And this is when the market was good, right? And so it's often the cheapest things that cost you the most money in the long run. And that's the thing that I believe with just about everything that I do. And when you understand that, that's how you separate yourself. Like you could do that right now for your ADU developments.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, like from there, right? So let's say you figured that part out. You've gotten the right product, the right pricing. You have the sales team going. Now, how do you make sure that, your operation is able to match that? Like what systems, what processes, things like that are you putting in place to, as a small business owner, grow and set a strong foundation for your business?
It almost never matches it. It's funny. I had one of my students who it's like, we started out, he was struggling with everything, right? He's struggling with marketing, sales. So we fixed his marketing, boom, starts getting leads in. Then he's like, oh man, I definitely feel like I'm missing some of these deals. Like, okay, we fixed his sales. It's like, dude, now I don't know how I'm going to dispel all these deals. I'm like, Okay, so now we fix your dispo. It's like, okay, well now we go back to like, okay, now I need more leads. And so there's always problems in your business. I remember he told me, I'm sitting on a one-on-one with this guy. He's like, dude, it's just like one thing after the other. I'm like, yeah, that's business. That's why most people don't do it. Right. And so, for example, our wholesaling business, we went from Southern California into a couple of other markets like Atlanta, Birmingham, Houston. And immediately we went from getting about 4 contracts per month to about 16, because Southern California is a very competitive market. You also get paid because your average deal size is a lot bigger. So we were making like $50,000 on average a deal. Whereas, the other markets now we're getting 15 to 20K deals. And so like the first thing we had to do is we had to hire a dispositions rep, but then we hire disposition reps. We get the deal sold. It's like, okay, now we need more leads, and we need to keep back on the acquisitions. And it's just always playing that game. And so I don't think that there is I don't think you're ever, oh man, we are perfect, because when you do get perfect, naturally as an entrepreneur, you're going to want to grow a little bit. You're going to be like, oh man, it's starting to feel safe. It's starting to feel predictable. And we just have this little tick to go, oh man, let's grow it. Let's start stepping the gas. Like everything's going good. Let's increase this, right? Like you should, if you want to actually run a bigger business. And so then you're going to have problems. And so I can't tell you that I have an answer to mastering the art of, matching fulfillment with front end. And you also, what you can't do is you can't overstaff. You can't say, oh, well, we're going to do, 40 deals in the next 60 days. So let's go hire, a C-suite. Let's go hire an operating manager. Let's spend all these money on salaries, because you haven't actually done it yet. And so how do you know that's actually going to happen? And I think that's one of the reasons why people that have built a, billion-dollar company in a couple of years, why they're able to do it is, which is very rare. So let's say $100 million company in a couple of years. It's like they've done it before, so they know how to get there, and then they know how the operations. But when you're doing it for the first time, you can't start planning and start hiring all these people, putting them on salaries, and expect you're going to get there, because oftentimes you don't get there nearly as fast as you think you're going to. Get there, like, oftentimes it's slower, and the other part is sometimes you get there a lot faster, which you also can't plan for. Like I've had both happen. I've had it happen where we just crush our quarterly goals, get there way faster, and of course our back end is suffering from that. I've also probably more times had it happen where it takes us a lot longer to get to where our targets were than we thought it would. And so I don't think, unless you've done it a million times or you've done it a couple times, I don't think you can like properly staff your company up and just go, oh, we're going to get there really fast. It usually doesn't work out like that. You just gotta have to embrace the chaos and just run with it as it goes.
Yeah, no, it's the life of an entrepreneur is what I'm learning, and that's kind of what it is. But I guess fundamentally, any business, doesn't matter which one you're in, what are some of the fundamental things that you can do as you're going, like creating SOPs and ensuring that the CRM is strong? Like, what are some of those tactical things when you're starting to grow a business that are going to help you grow?
I guess for context, define starting a business.
So you have a business, you have the product, you have the sales team, they're bringing in leads and sales, but on the back end, you want to make sure that as you start to hire, you're not training everyone up the same way, and you don't need to go out and figure out, oh shit, we have so many leads coming in, how are we keeping track of them? What do we do in this scenario? Like, I guess like documenting things like that. Like, what are some of these fundamental things that you can do to help systemize the business for when it is ready to scale?
Yeah, so there's 2 concepts you can look at, and they're like polar opposite books that I would recommend everybody read. There's the Who Not How book, and then there's the E-Myth. I look at those as like complete polar opposites, which are both are good. And the E-Myth, essentially think about McDonald's. McDonald's, you can take a 17-year-old kid in high school who's never worked a job, throw them in McDonald's, and they can run the entire business, right? Even management, like they have everything documented. They say, this is the checklist, right? Then you've got the who not how strategy. And the who not how strategy is finding someone that's already done it. Maybe you don't have all the systems and processes in place maybe you don't even know what that job actually entails. So you're going to bring on somebody else to help you. And I think there's maybe like a hybrid there, which is getting into like a mentorship or a coaching program where like, okay, I am going to get their SOPs. For example, all of my students, they get my 7-day CRM audit SOP. So if they're interested in wholesaling, they want to know how to do a 7-day CRM audit, they have all that documented. If they want to learn the CRM best practices, I literally have an entire 8-page document on CRM best practices, the rules of engagement, how to actually treat your leads. I have all of that documented. So my students can come on, and even though maybe they don't have the systems yet, and they definitely can't afford an operator to come in and build them out, they can just take that shortcut and they can just get them all from me. So like that's one way. If you're in an industry where you can do that, not every industry you can do that, right? Like if you're a pioneer and you're developing a product for the first time that nobody else has done, they're not going to have all those SOPs for you. So you kind of have to, either who not how it, or you have to e-myth it, right? If you're in something like wholesaling, you're running like an info business, somebody's done it before, bro, and you could just pay for it and you can get their SOPs. I'll talk about both for a second. I'll talk about both that I've actually experienced. Acquisitions, front end sales, anything inside of my company with like any company that I've ever ran. Front end sales, I've always been the person in that seat first. And so what I'll do is I'll write out my scripts. I'll have an entire script. I'll have a Miro board that accompanies it. So my script will be like detailed questions that you can ask, and the Miro board will be an overall process, like a process of, this is what you do, then this, and this, and this. So they don't have to read anything. They can just kind of look at where to go. So I'll give them that, right? And then I'll show them how to go through. I'll set up lists inside the CRM. And then everything is documented, right? So like when it comes to sales, I've built that out, the e-myth method. I've done it. You could be a monkey, come into my business, and you could know how to run it pretty quickly, like know how to at least be a salesperson pretty quickly. I would have to just train you on sales, which I know how to do. Then there's Dispo, okay? Dispo, I only sat in the Dispo seat when I started this company that I'm currently running for about 90 days. And I just threw up a bunch of contracts on the board. I was like, holy shit, I either have to go sell these or hire someone to sell them. And so that way, I can continue to get contracts. And so with Dispo, like, I don't really know a lot about disposition. So I have Austin, he's my who. And Austin's also in the war room. I think you're still in that group, maybe. I don't know if you are, but Austin's in the war room, like been with me for almost 3 years. He's almost like a duplicate of me, and the like personality style just figures everything out. Super impatient, type A, like a bulldog. But now he will go hire other Dispo reps. And the last Dispo rep that we hired, he was a who as well. And so we didn't have all the systems and SOPs necessarily broken down perfectly. He did create them. So like I had my who hire another who essentially. But this guy was used to closing 15 deals a month. And so we didn't have to show him how to do that. And so I'll kind of give you like an instance of when to do each one. If you don't have the capital coming in, you kind of have to go e-myth. You have to figure it out, and you have to build out all the processes. The second you're making money, which is why I think sales is the most important thing. If you can just start making money, then you can start hiring your who's, because who's cost a lot of money or if they're commission only, they need to have a certain amount of opportunity, which usually costs ad spend or something like that, right? And so e-myth like at the beginning, and then you might transition into hiring some more who's. And then I have an executive assistant who is freaking phenomenal. And I'm right now today interviewing. I have 3 executive assistants that are all competing right now. I give them a working day where I give them a bunch of tasks to do. And like I'll have them as well for like helping me with, my email scheduling, back end systems, even stuff inside the CRM. We could talk about executive assistants for a little bit, but now I'm going to have 2 executive assistants because I filled up my first one so much that I need another one. And I never understood that concept till I heard Hermosi talk about it. He's like, oh, I have 3 executive assistants. I'm like, that actually makes sense because we do the work of 4 or 5 people. Why not have 2 or 3 executive assistants that can just run around and do stuff for you? And so that's my answer to that. There's not like a one size fits all. It kind of depends on where you're at in the business. But obviously we have all of our SOPs documented for everything we do. But if you hire a who, they can build those documents out for you. They can build all your SOPs for you, and they can start training them that way.
Yeah. No, yeah, actually, I would love to dig into that real quick. So how do you manage multiple executive assistants at the same time?
Well, so to be clear, I only have one right now. I am hiring my second, and I'm giving them completely different tasks. So, like
Mm.
for example, one of my EAs, the one that I have right now, does literally everything for me. So I'm going on a like little mini staycation this weekend. She's booked a boat for me. She booked couples massages. She got reservations for the fire pit, like down where we can eat dinner, and a hot tub in the morning. Like booked all of that stuff, right? And she also, I had to get blood work because I'm having a procedure done next week. So she booked my blood work. Literally, the lady just showed up at my house today. I was like rolling out of bed. Someone knocked on my door. They're like, "Hey, we're here to take your blood." I was like, "Okay, cool." Like gave them my blood, and then they left. And so she took care of all of that. I just sent her my doctor sent me what I needed. I forwarded it to her, and she booked it. Person's at my house the next day. So like all my personal stuff, I have a nanny for, like, so cooks, cleans my house, like all that stuff's taken care of. That's a different person, obviously. But then my EA like manages my emails, does my scheduling, posts my videos on YouTube, edits them, like a million different things. And then she also does client success inside of the coaching stuff. And so like she'll upload my calls for me when I need to do call reviews. She's just like completely slammed. And so I'm like, okay, this is realistically at least 2 jobs, maybe even 3. And so now I found what she's the best at. She's very organized, but she's even better at the creative stuff. So I'm giving her more of like a creative role. And so what I'm hiring for now is somebody that's more technical. So I'm going to have like my creative EA that, really good with people, really good with getting me in front of other people. She's going to do that stuff. She's going to be responsible for that part of my life. And then the next EA I'm hiring, what I'm doing right now as I'm testing them is I'm giving them tasks that I want them to do that I also need to get done. I'm paying them for it. I'm paying 3 people for a day's worth of work. I let them in my CRM. I'm telling them, hey, update all of these drip campaigns, set up a Zap to go from go high level into our Google spreadsheet. And so like they're doing these tasks. I'm seeing which one is going to do the best, but that's going to be a very technical role. And so if I need help with my CRM, it's a waste of my time to be able to do that. If I can hire somebody for $10 an hour, why would I do that when I can go, make some sales calls and make $10,000 an hour, Right. And so now I'm hiring this person. As far as management, I could tell you what I'm going to do if that's helpful, because I've never done it. But I'm just going to have a daily call with them every single day for about 30 minutes until they're up to speed. And then I'll put them on the same cadence that I meet with my EA. I meet with her once a week. And honestly, I've even thought about taking that off my calendar, the once a week, because we talk all day. It's in Google Chats. And what I'm looking for in my EAs is someone that can take a text message, take a message that I send in Google Chats and run with it, not need a call. Like if you have to hop on with your EA and create a Loom video of how to do something, that's not a good EA. You know what I mean? Like that's not somebody that can actually figure things out. They're not really taking anything off your plate. In the past, I used to hire these EAs and VAs, EAs, and what I would do is I would be like, all right, this is how you do this. And then I would just do it. And I was like, okay, well, that's done. And so like, I don't even need that anymore. Or it's like a recurring task. And yeah, they would help out with that. But most of that stuff, we just try to automate through Zaps and AI. So we use a lot and everything that we do, we try to see, hey, can this just be accomplished? If it's a recurring task, can it just be accomplished with a Zap? Like if you guys aren't familiar with Zapier, it just connects one thing to another thing. So I'll give you a perfect example. On Fridays, I do call reviews with my students. Somebody submits a call. I just have a Google form that's now zapping into my Rev platform, which is where they transcribe them and it uploads them for me to review it with them. And so I'm like, oh, I don't even need an EA for that. I could just create a Zap. I can create an automation. So that way the EA is just working on, tasks that they can't automate. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, it's so good. So when you're looking to hire, how do you hire real talent versus just somebody who interviews well?
Test them. And so, like, for example, with the EAs, I interviewed, I didn't interview. My EA interviewed like 10 EAs. And then she sent me the recordings and I'm laying in bed at night just watching those, right? And so like she did the interviews. I told her, hey, these 3 look good. And then I'm paying them all for a day worth of work where I'm giving them actual tasks to see if they can figure it out. Tasks that are difficult, and I give them enough to be able to figure it out, but not exactly how to do it. So like, hey, set up a drip campaign in Salesforce. And I'll be like, when it's done, this is what that looks like. You move a lead into this bucket, they automatically get set to a drip. That's what it looks like when it's done. But I don't say, oh, you're going to go here and you're going to click on this and then you're going to fill out this and then you're going to move to the next step. I don't do that at all. I want them to figure that out. And so like you can't always tell if someone's going to be good from interviewing them, but you can tell if you give them work. Same thing with salespeople. So when I hire salespeople, I usually like put them all. Now they're commission only. I'll staff them. I'll say, hey, go call leads in the CRM for 30 days, and let's see who's actually going to be good. Because everybody says they're good. Everybody interviews well, right? Some people that don't interview well might even be good salespeople. So I just test them. Say, hey, 30 days, you're going to call leads in the CRM before you get any new opportunities. If you get your contract in mining the CRM, all right, you're a good rep. You can stay. I'm going to start giving you some lead flow and see how you perform. And so that's really the best way. Now, I know every role you can't do that. So if you're hiring, I've hired a $90,000 a year executive assistant, and I put her contract 1099 for 45 days to see how she would work out. At the end of that 45 days, I didn't move forward with her. And my EA right now is better than her, and I don't pay her anywhere near that. She also lives in another country, so she's paid very well compared to like where she lives. So like that's the best way to really vet somebody.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, man. Like there's so many times where, I think a lot of people have, and I've had issues firing VAs and different people, just inherently you don't really know. And I think a big part of it too is if you don't create a clear, a clear what success looks like in the role, not necessarily how to do things, but like what success looks like, they're going to be lost and they're not going to perform well. So there's probably a portion that's on you to help create that clarity.
Yeah, I think if you can find somebody with a really high IQ that and good work ethic, like it's hard to lose with the admins, really high, like they're very smart and they have a good work ethic. I love hiring people like in other countries that come and they have like an engineering background and like they're organized and they're hungry, right out of college. Like those people tend to do fairly well for EAs. I hired somebody that had like a decade of executive assistant experience, and it honestly just wasn't the right fit for me. Like it was like she's good at ordering coffees and stuff like that, but not for what I needed her to do. And so I look for, like, I test for, I guess I would say IQ, but like what's their bandwidth and how well can they just figure stuff out? So I don't want to be talking to them all day, telling them how to do everything. That's a waste of my time. I need them to take a message and then figure out what I mean by that. Clarify if you need, right? That's what I need from an EA.
That's so smart, man. Dude, I love it. So to kind of bring it home, what if you had one skill set that you could bring to building your next company, what would it be and why?
I want to say sales. However, with sales, you need to understand that you have to have a product that's worth selling to really get behind, So I'm almost like torn between like an offer creation and sales, but the reality is sales is the thing that it's like the gasoline that goes in the car, right? And so like if your car is a good product and you have good gasoline going into it, like you're good, or maybe like sales is more like the engine that keeps the car actually running. And so I am very grateful that when I was younger, I studied sales and I mastered sales. I shouldn't say mastered because nobody's really mastered it, but like I've really tried to perfect that craft and understand every aspect of it. And I'm grateful that I did that because I know that push comes to shove. Like if I ever need money, I'm in a bind, I can always go sell something. And that's a good feeling to have. It's like job security without having job security. I think if you're like, very technical and maybe like AI replaces you, you're screwed. I think we're a long ways before AI is going to replace salespeople. Not that long. It's coming up. But I would bring sales because even then I can train AI on the right things to do. Like that's a skill in itself. And so like sales and I would probably say the entire front end sales system of being able to manage salespeople, train salespeople, run that. I will likely be in that sort of role for the next decade before I start like really moving up into anything else. That's just what I've found makes me the most money. If I'm doing anything else, I'm usually not making money. If I'm in the sales seat or I'm in the revenue driving seat, I tend to do well.
It's a great answer. And I think it means a lot to a lot of people. So if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to follow along or come join the school community, what's the best way to get in contact?
I would say John Lallande on YouTube. It's just my first name, Jon, last name, Lallande on YouTube. Go check out. I post a lot of stuff on YouTube and the YouTube videos. There's descriptions like school and coaching and stuff like that. Also, I'm always hiring acquisitions managers. So if someone's like, man, I want to work for a guy that's going to push me, that's me. I will push people. And so like, if that's what you're interested in, you could always reach out to me there. But I usually tell people to check out my YouTube, just since long form content, stuff like this, they can really see a lot about you when they sit down with you for 20 minutes to an hour. And I try to post a lot of that. So if anybody has questions on who I am or what I'm about, you can find out pretty quickly from a couple of YouTube videos and watching stuff that I do like this.
I love that, dude. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. And we will see you guys in the next episode.
All right.
That's it for this episode of the Build a Nation podcast. If it gave you something to think about, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's leveling up. Until next time, keep building.